Hi, my name is Michelle Hartwig, and this is Run, Glow, and Repeat podcast. And this is a podcast that I talk about fitness, self care, and healthy habits. And today we have Wendy Krause on from Minnesota. And Wendy, I'm so excited to get to talk to her. I have seen her crushing my races over the past year, just flying through aid stations. And I don't get time to talk to her there or coming to the finish line crying with excitement at how well she did. So this is like our first time where we're not like in the midst of a race, that we just get to sit down and talk and get to learn and get to know all about you. So welcome, Wendy.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Yes, to your point, it's super fun and exciting to connect on this level and just opportunity because, like you said, I've had a chance to experience so many of the Ornery Mule races. 2024 was a big year for me, and I think Ornery Mule just really ignited a whole new fire in me and just saw such a great community and inspiration and just of course, you directing, and I can't even share how amazing it is to cross that finish line and see a director so involved and handing out awards. Like, that's super special. And just really made me consider, like, hey, there are just a lot of opportunities out there for that community building and that representation. So, thank you for hosting such amazing races.
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you. That's really nice of you to say. I mean, we do. I love seeing women shine, and even when I started Ornery Mule Racing, that was a big thing for me because I was running ultra races, and there just wasn't a lot of women at the start line, and and on the top of that, I was out there training by myself, so inviting other women to train and to take it seriously and to know that we could do these crazy hard things was really important. So I really appreciate you saying that and seeing that at the finish line. So thank you.
Yeah, it's been great because to your point, I've seen over the years the increase just very subtle and incrementally with women represented in trail community. And it's just super awesome to see that growing and just expanding. To your point, I think one of the very first races I had done in Ultra, there were maybe 12 women and gosh, 50, 60 men. And you're just going, okay, this doesn't feel like it lines up or adds up well. We got to get more women into this. This is a place and space women can really shine with endurance and just our, I guess, ability to problem solve and juggle so many things. I feel like as a mother and as a friend and wife, and it just, we just juggle so much.
Yeah, I think that women have a special gift at it. And I remember some of my first ultras, there was guys that were like, okay, I'm a smart guy, so I just follow the women because they know how to pace themselves during the race. And because this is what a guy told me. I'm not saying this about guys, but he said, I have a tendency to just go out way too fast and blow up, and the women just are thoughtful and how they do it, and they end up finishing faster. And I mean, we have a special gift, and but I agree. I mean, literally, I just got done ordering Kettle race shirts, and there's significantly more men in Kettle 100 than there is women, and we've seen a huge growth, quite honestly, since I started. But there still needs to be a much bigger. I would love to see a much bigger growth because like you and we love, I mean, this is my life. I love trail running. There's no place that I feel better. It makes me confident. And, so to have people that are helping welcome other women onto the trail is really important, which is what you're doing now as one of the new Ornery Mule racing coaches.
Yes, I'm super excited to be with not only the coach group and team, but also just Ornament Racing. And to your point, just to really inspire, motivate, and support other women in not just trails, but just that place and space of being able to adapt and adjust and pivot. I think we were talking a bit about that and just how our seasons of life and kind of each decade evolves to something uniquely different. And particularly for me right now, I'm in my 40s. I'm experiencing all sorts of unique health things, and I've had to pivot and I've had to adjust and I've had to evaluate and I've had to address a lot of things that have definitely been impactful to my performance and just my training. So when I look at my training now, it's changed tremendously from when I was in my 20s. And it's constantly evolving. And I think that's the biggest key in just understanding how we can show up every decade, every season, every day, and not have maybe an expectation that it has to look a specific way. It's so easy to get wrapped up in that and just have that comparison happen and think that we have to have this very black and white cookie cutter experience, but I think it's just really based on each personal and individual place and space where they are and stage they're in their life are.
Yeah, I think we should back up a little bit of who you are, like because you're kind of talking about, um, you know, adapting in our life, but you've had a career in running, and something that I think that we didn't touch on is, last year at how old were you last year during Kettle and Hennepin?
Yeah, 43.
43. So at 43, you finished as first overall female in Kettle 100K and first overall female in Hennepin 100. So that was quite an accomplishment. Both races are highly competitive races. And you started, and when did you start running?
I've been running about 20 years. But
Yeah.
that first, yeah, so I'll kind of go back a bit. I always like to share this because it is truly my hope and desire and aspiration to be influential on those who maybe think it's too late to start, too late to be competitive, too late to even consider pursuing trail and distance or endurance, and maybe even too late to think, oh, I'm a mom or this has happened, but I started as an adult runner. I had some health issues in my college years, and I really just laced on my shoes. It was the most easiest, fundamental place to start with my fitness and health. And I could afford a pair of shoes, and that's all I needed. And it really evolved from there, where I decided, okay, here I am going to show up and do this running thing. And I had trained for not just one, but two marathons and had to abort mission both times before I got to the starting line because I had babies. And it just changed everything. And it was like, okay, that dream is going to be put on the back burner. That opportunity is going to have to like pause for a bit. My training is going to have to look different. And I went to stroller running, navigating postpartum, understanding how my body was changing, and I wasn't showing up the same way I was pre-babies. I had a lot of issues with just my joints and understanding that all of those hormones were helping me be the best mother through labor and delivery, but at the end were harming my running. So it just made me show up in a different way. And fast forward, I just never lost sight of that hope and aspiration and goal to continue getting back to the starting line for my first road marathon. And I trained myself to that point. Post babies, a few years forward, they were alongside of me on bikes and rollerblades, any which way I could stay active and keep my training going. I was pivoting and I was trying to make it work because I just loved running so much. I was like, okay, if I got to push one in stroller and be kind of pulling along a rope with a bicycle behind me, I will. So, um, it just really helped me get really focused on where was I with my goals. And I ended up coaching myself to my first road marathon, and I was minutes away from Boston qualifying. And that just really, I think, ignited another fire in me and was like, oh my gosh, if I can do this on my own, what can I do with a coach? And so I ended up working with a coach for some time, and that was just all the difference, which is why I'm just at a point and stage and place in my life now, too, is knowing that having someone on your side to look at things objectively and to kind of have that wider lens to be able to say, let's look at the whole picture. Let's understand how all these different things can be affecting and impacting your training and how you're showing up. So, yeah, I mean, I ended up jumping into my first ultra kind of on I guess a bit of a chance in that I was like, I don't know if trails are really going to be my thing. I'll give it a try. And to your point, I just fell in love with the trails, the space and place, the just calmness, the serenity, being out in nature, in the woods, and just I just immediately fell in love with it. The community, it just was a very different pace. There was not really paces involved per se. It was, hey, you come up and just do your best and show up and put forward your best foot. And I just loved that. I was like, you mean I don't have to be doing all of the things that I do on roads? I can still like just show up and run and enjoy this. It just was such a different less pressure in many ways. So I could really pivot and adapt how that training looked in my life with kids and season and just where I was. I didn't have to follow a very black and white structured plan to say, I have to do all of these things in order to be XYZ. So, yeah, I guess in a quick nutshell, that's a little bit about my journey.
I agree on the coaches. They can make all the difference in the world. I mean, that's how Ornery Mule Coaching came along because having someone on my side looking at what I was doing as training was in 1 year of working with a coach. I just started PRing everything, and I wasn't doing bad before that. But just those little tweaks that they can see is, and also, you doing it on yourself, you teach yourself. So not only with your education on it, plus doing it yourself, you can learn so much to share with others. I'm wondering,
Yeah, and
how old are your kids now?
I've got a almost 15-year-old and almost 12-year-old. So yeah, we're entering like preteen, teens, almost a driver in the house, a little scary. I think these are the scariest years. I was like, oh gosh, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Um, but yes, it's been a beautiful time and space to even have them because they've been a part of my crew team at every one of my races and see how mom's journey has gone from their little tiny hands giving me high fives on the side of a, road course to now they're handing me liquids and bars and nutrition and making sure my pack is ready to go in and out of aid stations and to just see how mom has crossed the finish line. So it's just been such a beautiful journey for them to be a part of too.
Yeah, what a great role model that you're showing them, to work hard towards something and then seeing it happen. Are they running?
So, my daughter loves to just purely hobby run, and she has done like Girls on the Run in the past, and just likes to. She's kind of on her own beaten path, is how I like to say it. She does not like any structure. She will just go out and do like a 2 mile run on her own when she feels ready one day or the next, or so no structure. And I don't really pressure or push either of my kids into that. Now, my son has got his competitive streak in me, just like me. And so he shows up at all the local 5K races he can with me, and he just nails it out as best as he can. So he loves to just hobby run as well, but neither of them are in like, formalized running or like cross country or track or anything. They just purely and simply do whenever they kind of feel like it and the wind blows just right and they're like, "I'm gonna join you, mom, for your warm up," or "I'm gonna join you for a mile or two." They will. But typically they like to join me on like their bicycles or rollerblades and they can keep up a little bit easier with mom too. I do spend a lot of my time on trails, and so when they're on their bikes, they have a much easier time. Otherwise, they're like, "Oh, mom, you're going way too fast. We can't keep up with you." So, but it's been great because they do, keep me in check with just my easy paces when they do join me. So that's been fun and exciting.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I didn't meet them at Kettle, so they were both there crewing you, or maybe I
They
did and
were.
I it went over my head.
Oh yeah, no. I think it's sometimes a blur at when you cross finish lines and in and out of stations, and there's just so much chaos happening and stimuli. And sometimes I get out of across the finish line and I'm like, oh, I didn't even stop to do, or say or give this person a hug or anything. And it's just kind of, all those emotions and everything kind of come flooding through at the same time. But yeah, they've been at they did not make the Hennepin finish. So admittedly, they didn't make that one because they finished at like 2:30 in the morning. So they were fast asleep in the camper, but my husband was there at the finish line, and so they said and they promised that they wanted to be there at this finish line, the next 100 I do, which is going to be Kettle 100 in June. They admitted they're like, oh no, we'll stay up all night if we have to. We really want to be there, Mom, at your finish line. So that was super sweet.
Yeah, one of the things that I notice at the finish line a lot is mom runners. And a lot of times it's the female mom, the winner of the race. And they cross the finish line, their kids are there, and their kids are like, Mom, guess what happened today? And immediately they go into their entire day, and then mom turns into mom, and she's no longer the runner that's just been out there like digging deep for, 12 hours.
That is very true. That has definitely been a few times over. It's fun to hear from the crew perspective what happens to them on course as well, because they've had their whole own experience and journey from, helping aid station tents get, tied down because the winds pick up and try to take the tent out at the aid station to, helping other it's so we hear about all I do. I hear about all their stories after the fact, which is just such a fun experience to know that they also have kind of their own journey in that place and time on the course too.
Yeah, I love that you're giving that to them. What a great family tradition to get to bring people together like that. It's really
Yeah, admittedly,
nice.
they didn't really have much of a choice at the beginning. So,
They were voluntold.
yeah. Now they just know it's a given. They're like, okay, what's mom's race next? What's your schedule, mom? What are we looking forward to next? So, yeah.
Well, they get to stay up all night, so that's pretty cool.
Exactly, right?
If they want to. Yeah, so I noticed so if you go to trailrun.coach to learn about all the coaches, I thought it was really interesting, like your coaching specialty. You had wrote that you like to work with women entering their 40s and beyond and navigating hormones and trying to balance training. And I was just curious what like anything you want to share of what you like to do with that.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you asked because, frankly, again, I think it goes back to just representation and knowing someone's on your side as a female runner myself. And I've already been experiencing and navigating perimenopause symptoms and having to train and adapt and navigate through that myself. And I literally thought this was something that didn't happen until you were 50. So, I mean, little do you know, and how naive and I guess uneducated, my in my place in space, but I've just really learned and understood that there's just so many more women experiencing these things at a much earlier and sooner age. And now I'm sure you'll see it across media everywhere where they're recognizing in the health space that so many more women are undergoing hormonal changes. And interestingly, it's impacting their training in as early as their mid to late 30s. And so I feel fortunate that, gosh, I didn't have to deal with this till my early 40s in that perspective. But also in my mind, I'm thinking, "Oh, I wasn't expecting this till I was 50. Like how this has just affected and impacted me everywhere. And I've had a really great, I guess, support team, you could say, in just navigating and understanding that from masseuse to PT to doctor care to blood work. And so I really am very passionate about identifying and helping those women who are possibly feeling defeated or frustrated or just unsure of why their training and their performance has shifted or changed so dramatically, and or it's just not feeling the same and maybe as good as it could be or was. And I was there. I've been there, and it's something you can work through and you can get out of, and you could possibly even overcome, and to that point have a really successful, if not future, opportunity to see some really big goals happen for yourself. So, not to like close that door and think that that stage of your life is over by the time you hit 40. It doesn't have to be. I think there's some really great women out there in their 40s and beyond who have proven that point, especially times, performance, endurance. All of it can still happen and be very successful. So, yes, I am excited. I really love to help other women who are in that stage and kind of process and understanding how we can partner and just achieve and accomplish those goals.
I know as I changed, I didn't really know what the symptoms were of the change. Like I was on like, I'm just not a good runner anymore. Something's just wrong with me. So your confidence kind of takes a hit. What is something that women should be looking for to know that they need help so that they don't start just telling themselves, you know what, maybe I've just lost it?
Yeah, I can speak about my own journey, and part of that was just my mental health, frankly. I noticed how much more anxiety focused and ridden I was. I noticed how much more, I guess, depressed I was feeling. You could attribute it to somewhat of like low vitamin D and the winter blues. It just seemed like a perfect storm for me, and I think it was easy to chalk that up and assume, gosh, maybe I am depressed. Maybe I should go get on some antidepressants. Or, oh, maybe it is anxiety. The weight of the world is just so heavy right now. But frankly, when I dug into the blood work, I dug into the numbers, and I decided, hey, I need to go get some blood work. This is a good reminder. I need to go get this done. And it was very telling. And it just pointed to some very obvious signs that I was feeling, but kind of just letting go to the wayside. And even my family had brought it forward and had said, I think you're onto something. This is just not like you. I was also having some major issues with just my sleep schedule. I mean, anybody in my whole, like, I guess, background that knows me well enough would say, yes, Wendy loves her sleep. And I am very adamant about getting, as much sleep as possible. I'm a big advocate for recovery by sleep. And I am a 9 hour plus person for sleep, admittedly, which most people are just astonished by. But even now, and I was getting barely 6.5, 7 hours of sleep, and it just wasn't even good sleep. And so it was impacting my heart rate. It was impacting how I felt every day. My body just felt low on energy and lethargic. And so it just, all these signs kind of kept pointing back to, okay, I've got to like take a step back and recognize it's not just one thing. It's kind of little bits and pieces of a lot of things. And when you add up a lot of little things, it's actually pretty significant. So I would say just don't overlook the little things.
Yeah, that's really great advice. I just hope that women can listen to this and see some of that in their self and realize that it's, like that they just don't feel down on their self, that it's something that they're doing, something that's wrong with them, that they're not like other people because, we are, I mean, we're all capable and we can help each other from the things that we've learned from our own personal experiences, as you're showing with what you've done.
And it's interesting too, because to that point, going back to when I said I didn't think that you really hit these stages and these changes and transitions till you're closer to 50, I think it was even more eye-opening to me too, because I was under this like illusion that, oh, I wouldn't be the one that had, night sweats or hot flashes or any of these other kind of symptoms. and I was and have. And so, I mean, it was just, again, it kind of hit me like a wall going, okay, maybe there's something to be said about this, that it's not maybe impacting everyone the same, and maybe not everyone has the same things, but again, these are not things that I need to be dealing with forever and ever. I can find ways to work through them and overcome them. There might be some that you just can't possibly get rid of, and just when you think you figure it out, 6 months go by, all of a sudden your body gives you a nice wake up call and slam and gives you something else. But I mean, so it's one of those things where I think you can just constantly be aware and evaluate.
So I tend to think that every person can be a runner. And I'm thinking about the person that's listening to this and thinking, wow, those adventures look really fantastic, but I'm not, that's probably not me. Look at her. She won Kettle, she won Hennepin. So how do you speak to those kind of runners?
Yeah. I think you can always stretch yourself. And so I'd say, think about where you want to stretch yourself. And if you're looking to stretch yourself, maybe it's bit by bit. So if you're a road marathoner, a half marathoner, I mean, I ultimately started as a road half marathoner as my preferred distance for many years because it just fit well in the season and time and place in my life. And I think I never lost sight of just that stretch opportunity, that stretch to push myself a little more. So it was always, how can I go from a road marathon then to maybe a 50K? I mean, that's only 5 more miles, right? It can't be that hard. So I think it just was like, and I've really been strategic about that advancement with myself. I know there's so many runners out there that will literally run a road marathon and then jump right into 100 and accomplish it, but with great pain and really, I guess, negative results in so many ways where they just never show up to running again, or they never, want to pursue a 100 miler again, or maybe they have an injury that stops them and prevents them because it was such a huge leap. So I honestly feel like strategically, I've advanced myself in increments where I knew I was stretching myself a little further. So it was very attainable, but still pushed me to achieve and to drive a little bit further. And so for someone who maybe is looking and hesitant on, oh, I don't know that I would want to ever be in trails or ever do an ultra, I would say never, but just think about ways you could push or even just stretch yourself a little bit more. Just give a little bit more because 5 miles isn't really that much more, right? I mean, so you could go from that 50K and now, yeah, a 50K to a 50 miler might be a jump, but there's plenty of other trail races out there that do like 40-mile races. So you could kind of incrementally grow and adjust to that direction. And I think what you were kind of maybe alluding to as well was I really feel like that perfect athlete that would find really great success with me as a coach is likely someone who has had a lot of those impactful things that have happened in their life, whether it be a mother of kids or even just life changes, maybe stepped away from running and trying to get back into running. So have a really good fundamental understanding and base of what running means to them, but just wants to bring back consistency and longevity to their running future. So, I mean, I'm a big advocate. My motto is lifelong runner. I want to live to my fullest, and if that's 85 or 95, and I want to run to the day I die. I just think that would be absolutely fulfilling. So, lifelong commitment.
Yeah, I love the strategic approach. It's not what I did, but but I so admire everybody that does that, and you can see the results in it. And I would love to see more of I feel like in the community sometimes that strategic approach with social media, it's always, go big or go home. And it's like if there's they should be doing the 50 mile, but there's a 100 mile and everybody else is doing the 100. So you sign up. So I think it's really nice to be strategic. Like you said, there's lots and lots of great distances out there to choose from.
Yeah, and I wanted to continue to evolve and love and keep following that trajectory of distance and be successful and not have it be a barrier where I end up with a long-term injury and never able to show up to 100-mile distance ever again and just have it be that one and done. I really was under the guise of, okay, if I'm going to do this in my best direction, best opportunity to stay healthy and well, I need to take baby steps to get there, to know that my body can handle it. I'm in a good season and place, my life, but also the volume, just the demand of training in itself. How does that fit into my life? And I think all too often it can get really tricky to navigate training, and people give up a lot for training. And admittedly, people always ask me, how do you do it all? How do you fit it in? And I'm like, oh, I don't. Don't get me wrong, I don't. I mean, I give up a lot, but it's something I love, so I don't look at it as a negative at all. I really, really am passionate about it, and I don't mind giving up those things because it's giving me so much more on other perspectives.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. So like as a coach, so I'm like, let's say that I am the busy executive that's really wanting uh, to do some, goal race that is, they're running in Colorado up some mountain or something, but they just don't think that they can fit into their schedule. They don't know that they're capable of running those kind of miles to get the proper training in. Like, how would they go to you? And how could you help them get that set up in their head?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is mapping out your daily rhythms and your schedule. Like, tell me what you already do and what's consistent and true, and how do we fit that in? And where do you come up with like plan B, plan C? And so helping them think through that. Also, I think a half the battle is mental preparation. I think we just don't recognize enough on how we can do some really great strength training and run training and be committed. But I think sometimes, again, that perception is we have to be doing 100, 120-mile volume weeks, which is not the case. I can tell you, I've never had a week over, I think 77 miles is my highest volume week. And so knowing that sometimes your bodies actually show up and perform better when you're not completely exhausted and depleted week over week over week. But twofold, it's the mental piece. It's what you tell yourself in your brain. It's how you set yourself up to problem solve. It's how you get yourself focused. I think there's so many benefits to having that cheerleader. And as a coach, I do feel like I'm a really positive person. I always look at things from, that lens of how can you see the benefits and the pros and the privilege that we have to be able to show up and do these things physically and just keep, helping guide and redirect to those positives, I think is a lot of it too. And people start appreciating that. I've had great feedback with just others who I've coached through things and have said, "Oh my gosh, you've always stayed so positive and supportive." And I'm like, well, I mean, that's what we should be doing as a coach, right? And yet at the same time, I think it's just so great to know you have a cheerleader on your side to say you can do this and believe in you to do that.
Yeah,
So
that's
helping
great.
instill that belief.
How to go on to you a little bit, how's your training going for Kettle?
It is going actually really well. I'm super excited because I had a minor and frankly my first injury at the beginning of the year with my knee, and really weird situation. Don't know that it was actually caused from running, but it took me out for about 3 weeks. So I had to back off of a 100K in Black Canyon. I was hoping to show up at Black Canyon, and I had to pull back from that and really focus on rehabbing the knee. And it's been going really well. And so I am super excited because I've had a little bit of a shorter training ramp this cycle, but at the same time, it's I have to remind myself too, as a coach, sometimes we can forget our own things that we help others with, but it's a good reminder to ourselves. It's not just one training cycle. It's years of preparation that get you to that point. And so you can't forget about the years that have built up to that. And so I am actually jumping into a 50K in 3 weeks down in Arizona to get some training miles and just a short little 50K in. And then I'll be, knock on wood, showing up at Kettle 100% and ready to go.
Oh, what 50K are you doing in Arizona?
It is the adrenaline night runs. So it's actually a night 50K, and I've never actually raced a night run. So I'm pretty excited to give that a test. Just, I think I'm preparing for all the things to go wrong, right? Your lights to not work, having to fumble for the gels and the goos and all that, and just work through it. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to just practice the nighttime running. Hennepin, I ended up running till about 2:30, which, you had plenty of hours of darkness, but it truly wasn't through the entire night. And I think there's something to be said that Kettle's going to take me a little longer than perhaps Hennepin. And so I'm just kind of trying to already prepare my brain and just the practicing of how to get through night running.
Yeah, and Kettle will be more technical than what you ran at night. I noticed, I think I
Absolutely.
remember you had a Kogawa light on at
I did.
at
Yeah,
Hennepin.
sadly, I probably blinded everyone.
Oh no, I think Kogawa, well, nobody's running towards you at Hennepin. So,
True.
but you wore it low, and I think that it's totally fine. Kettle does have a little bit of an out and back, but just kind of turn away if you remember.
Yes. Yes, yes, I know, right? Those lights are definitely a wonderful light. I'm an absolute believer. I've never had issues running at night with those lights.
Yeah, I think it's a really good choice for, because the most technical part of Kettle is actually during the night. And so that will be really nice for you to have.
Yeah, if I recall, I think part of the kettle does go on the Ice Age, and I've ran the Ice Age as well. And that is a little more technical. And to your point, I took a big Superman fall when I ran Ice Age. And so I'm fully prepared thinking, okay, I can't can't do the Superman flying through the air, fall in the middle of the night. That might just really ruin everything. But if so, I've got to learn how to, practice, I guess practice if I can practice falling, if that's a thing, practice falling gracefully and hopefully not injure myself.
I'm a Superman follower, and my husband says I'm supposed to tuck and roll, but I'm like, I am on the ground Superman style before I even know what happened.
Same. That's usually me too. So
So I hold that in common with you. Well,
I think
that's
that's
really cool.
very, yeah, yeah.
So do you do any road running at all now, or do you mainly just do training on the trails or?
Yeah, great question. So I've definitely jumped into some road running here and there. I do like to think of myself as someone who kind of swings the pendulum both ways. My heart and soul and passion is always in trails. And last year I took advantage of where we live in northern Minnesota and jumped into a lot of local races. Now, most of the local races are only 5Ks, but they're all road races. And I will admit, I am the worst 5K racer. So I do not, I mean, I can perform well in, perspective, right? Everything's in relation to where you're at, but frankly, it's one of those things where I just do jump back and forth into roads and trails to try to maintain some of my speed. I've never actually gone to Boston, though I've qualified a few times. And so there's always a piece of me that tries to keep that edge and that speed on, deck in a way where if I go to a marathon, it's always in the back of my mind, okay, I'm gonna Boston qualify again just to keep that speed and kind of pace and that piece of it up. But Yeah, I do some training on the roads locally because we do have some trails, but they are difficult to access, particularly in the winter months. And I'm an outdoor runner all year round. I love just being outside. And so when you're dealing with ice and snow and trails are just super slippery or deep. We get just, gosh, 80 plus inches of snow through a winter up here. So it's challenging. I do end up kind of sufficing back to the roads during those moments and times and just try to make the most of it. But I do prefer the trails and I will bounce back and forth.
Yeah, I think that I love hearing that you actually do both. I think it's always a good idea to do some road races to keep your speed up. It does translate onto the trail, and it's not necessarily that you're saying that you're going to be running really fast on the trail. It just helps you run comfortable at a faster pace. And I,
Absolutely.
it's great training. I like to do a lot of my speed work on more roadish sort of trails. I still run on trails, but they're more roady type.
Yeah, I did my speed session today actually on roads. And of course, I kind of look at it as the elements are also there as a factor. And so it's super windy. And if I'm dealing with wind on top of, say, trying to do speed work on a trail, I'm kind of asking for a lot to go wrong. And so, speed's already tough enough to hit sometimes those paces. And so why add any more elements to the mix if you don't have to, is my theory. So just try to nail those paces is my goal.
What I always like to ask this, what is your favorite like workout, like training day?
Oh, my favorite workout for myself personally.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's a hard question. I feel like I'm pretty agnostic when it comes to workouts because there's so much to learn and to pivot, and I've had so much variation. I would say, what I do love and enjoy is doing those really long run workouts where it might be you spend 3 hours out on mix of trails and roads, but you work in maybe 20 to 40 minutes of speed work in the middle of it because it just really builds the endurance for your body and time on feet and shows you how much more you're capable of when you've spent that much time on your feet out on trails. So I would say if I had to pick, that'd probably be one of my favorites is really focusing long runs and building the speed work in the middle of it.
Yeah, that what a great confidence builder. I love that you recognize that as part of it. And then it shows up on race day for you. You're like,
Absolutely. The other one that I just do love, and I wouldn't even consider this necessarily a workout, but I love doing fast strides at the end of, say, a really long run because, again, it just really helps your brain and your confidence understand that you still have more to give, even when you're tired and you're exhausted, and you can just crank down and just go 20 seconds pretty hard and fast and get that foot turnover really strong, do that 5, 6 times. It's a really great confidence booster with that too, and really helps me. I think almost all of my races, I've ended up really finding that dig deep moment in the last, half mile or mile and just focus on that. And honestly, I've found that I've passed people at that point in races where, I keep seeing them ahead of me and I'm like, I hone in on them and go, oh, they're just the person I need to get to. And that last stretch is where sometimes I'm able to just crank it in and get past them and move up a place or two and have really close results to, a couple others that would have otherwise finished in front of me, but I just was able to find that deeper gear.
yeah, that's wonderful. Um, is there anything else that you want to share about you that I haven't asked about? I mean, you sound like a fantastic coach. Like anybody's like so lucky to get to work with you. Heck, I might need a coach, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'd love to help you, Michelle. I think the only thing that I'd love to just share that I've gotten really excited and pumped and motivated and really I think I did put a little nugget of this into my bio on the website as well is I have two Vizslas that I run with most of my runs. And so I've been deeply exploring canicross racing, although I haven't shown up to an actual canicross race. But I've had a really great experience now. They are about 20 months old and they've ran with me since basically week 9. We brought them home and they are, of course, a breed that, aspire to be working and running. And so not all breeds, mind you, and put that disclaimer out there because people sometimes go, "Oh, can my lab do that?" It's like, "Oh, well, not all dogs are made or bred to be, super hardworking dogs, but just anybody who loves dogs and loves to run either alongside of their dog or even wants to focus on the canicross aspect and just be out there. I mean, right? Two nails on the, or I guess, it's like double whammy, right? You get to not only exercise your pets, but you as well, and you have great company doing it. So they join me on most of my runs and they've become really just my trail partners. And so I love it. And you'll probably see a lot of them on my social media and my messaging and all of that too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, everybody listening, what is your Instagram page? It's so fun to watch, to follow it.
Yes, my handle is Wendy Runs Free. So all spelled out. And yes, I do a lot of just hopefully some educational nuggets for women entering, their 40s and beyond. And then, of course, you'll get to see snippets of my dogs and I doing a lot of our training together.
Yeah. And then you can go to trailrun.coach to see her bio. That picture of you is so badass that, that we have up there. You got a white run hat on. What race was that at?
Oh, I'm trying to think which picture it is. Does it look like I'm climbing a mountain? If it's the one that I'm thinking it is, that was on the Superior Hiking Trail 50 miler I did. And yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to get in that lottery on that 100 there someday. But Kettle will be a super good, I guess, technical test to the Superior Trail. That's a whole nother beast. So
Yeah.
yeah, that race is just absolutely beautiful too.
Yeah, both classic 100 mile, two of the first in the Midwest, uh, like the first uh, 15 100 mile races in the US are and is Superior and Kettle.
We're so lucky to have those in our neck of the woods. And now our neck of the woods is maybe a little further than, say, somebody in Colorado's neck of the woods when they have all those wonderful mountains surrounding them within an hour. But I mean, I just sometimes I have to pinch myself and remind myself that just because I don't live next to or around the mountains, there's still some really great training ground and beautiful places to run, like Superior and Kettle Moraine.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably my favorite. Like you can just get into a rhythm. They just feel good. Like I go out, my daughter lives in Arizona. Everything is trying to cut you up and hurt you there. I mean, like it's just so soft and pretty and like change the landscape here. I really, really love Midwest trail running. And we've got some fantastic trails. Those two probably being two of the best.
I would agree with you. That is one thing I was thinking about with my 50K in a couple weeks is I was just like, okay, just please don't run, trip, fall, or die into a cactus, whatever you do.
Yeah, you fall there. No Superman falls.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
well, you'll have to keep us updated on how the race goes. And thank you so much for coming on. And have we skipped over anything? Is there anything else that you wanted to share?
Gosh, no, thank you for having me on. Super exciting to share. Looking forward to just helping support Run Glow Repeat community and Ornery Mule Racing and just helping other women just shine, honestly.
Well, thank you so much, Wendy. I'm so excited for all your athletes and so excited to have you on the team. And yeah, my next big race, I'm going to have to, you're definitely on my radar of coaches.
Sounds
So,
great. I'm super excited for you too. So yeah, we'll see you at Kettle.
okay. Thanks, Wendy.
Bye, Michelle.
Bye.